So this is the tool that we're going to use to automate all outbound sales. Can we automate this with Zapier?
That sounds good. Link in the media deck.
Honestly, lads, this automation stuff is kind of scary. Hey chat, I am building a series of AI agents that can reply to emails from our subscribers. I'm wondering, can you help me automate it? I automate a lot of my business and it's working kind of scarily well. And I have some automations and flows that I want to show you that more or less anybody can set up, and it saves me an ungodly amount of time and allows me to do the work of like 3 people. But I've gotten to the point where these tools are so powerful, I kind of have a feeling that this is all going to go wrong somewhere. And I'm not just talking about my business, I'm talking about in the entire online tech industry. So if you plan on automating some of your business, your side hustle, or even your job, it might be worth sticking around because I'm going to show you all these flows and automations that we have and you can just copy them. But also I've been thinking quite a lot about what's good automation and what's bad automation. And I feel like I'm getting a bit closer to that answer. Because, and you know, for dramatic effect, I'm going to stand up here. If you manage to find the balance between good automation and bad automation, you've kind of gotten a ticket where you can skyrocket the growth of your business reliably. There are 3 major automation flows that I want to show you, more or less applicable to any business that works online, and they get more powerful as they go. The first one that I want to show you is quick, but it is insanely effective. Let me just show you how it works. So this is the first very simple automation that we have going. Now, try not to have a shit attack, you know, with all these tabs open. It's just the way I operate. So the idea here is that when somebody subscribes to our newsletter, we want them to be as engaged as possible. And one way to keep them engaged is to increase the affinity that they have with your brand by engaging with them and, you know, let them know that we see them as a real person and not just a number. So one of the things that I always wanted to do was send a personalized email to all of these subscribers, but because you know, we have, you know, tens of thousands of people subscribed, that would take me an awful long time. So I'm using this tool called Lindy. It's a way to automate some AI agents in a practical way. It doesn't go to the level of depth and sophistication that a tool like Crew AI would use, but it's so powerful in this case. So Lindy here is actually able to see when somebody replies to an email of ours, classify it based on whether it needs a response or not, and if it is a subscriber that has recently subscribed, it then crafts a response for them that is personalized to them. And you know, it does this many times a minute. And what does this look like to one of our users? So for instance, Mike here is somebody that replied to our email. In this case, we can then send him a personalized message saying, "Hi Mike, blah, blah, blah." Took me 15 minutes to set up from scratch, and it saves me tens of hours every single month, and it doesn't cost a hell of a lot of money either. But in my mind, this is where things get a little bit dangerous, and it's to do with perceived value versus the cost of doing something that provides value. I don't have the intellectual capability to explain this without having a visual, so let's just do a visual. So let's break this down. Here we have 2 axes. On one axis we have perceived value. Note perceived. On the other axis we have cost of replication. Perceived value is how much something feels meaningful, unique, or special. And the cost of replication is the effort required to create or reproduce something. And this thing here, called automation, does a great job of reducing the cost to 0. And we've seen this before. We've seen it in mechanicalization. Yeah, that's not spelled right, but you get the point. We've seen it in agriculture, and to a certain extent, we've seen it in transport. And up until now, a lot of people would have said that automation was coming for a certain type of job. We call them blue-collar jobs. But now, for reasons that we're going to get into, it's also coming for another job segment. It's coming for white-collar jobs. And a white-collar job is one where people might traditionally work in an office and use their brain more than they would their hands. And this thanks to 2 changes in the world. And the changes are fuzzy inputs and fuzzy outputs. You see, since all of the advancements in AI, we have gone from like binary outputs and inputs, so yes, no, 1 and 0, to fuzzy inputs, like kind of or maybe. And this allows automation to reach a new scale. But this scale doesn't necessarily make its current market bigger. It allows it to jump to new applications. Let me show you exactly what I mean with our second automation flow. So this all starts with having a goal. And in this case, our goal is to outbound potential prospects that would be a good fit for our business. So what I traditionally would have had to do, what I used to like go up here and I'd select a company. So in this case, let's say Google. And because Google has a very small amount of employees, what I would do is I would click on those employees. This is LinkedIn, by the way, and find the people that are most suitable to me. I'd find Julia here and I'd send her a message on LinkedIn and probably email as well. But the thing is, this takes an awful lot of time because for this thing to work, you kind of have to write a personalized message to everybody because nobody wants to get spam in their inbox and they want to make sure that if you're contacting them, you are looking for that person specifically in the role they're in the company. And this is where the magic happens. Let me show you how I automate all of this work. So you find these really handsome people on LinkedIn and you grab their URL address. Thereafter, you go to this site up here called Clay. Now, Clay is like a spreadsheet on steroids with some magic sprinkle dust inside. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to put this cell down here and paste my URL. And what you'd find is that these cells start queuing up. So we find, okay, Darragh Lucey, you get his job title, the company he's working for, connections, you get an idea of his history, his email address, you can get their phone number, you can write a personalized subject line and a personalized special line using AI that will generate them that personalized email. And if all of this isn't weird enough, all I have to do right now is click on this button. So let's hope the universe doesn't explode. And after clicking this button, what happens is my email is now added to a campaign. Now, what's that campaign added from? Well, I'm gonna go up to this tool up here called Smart Lead. And when we go to Smart Lead, what we can see is we have an automated email sequence set up here. And if we go to the lead list and we go up here to the name and we type in my name, you can see that I am now enrolled in this sequence. And so now I'm going to receive all of these emails that I have set up in an automated way. But not only that, what we can also do on Smart Lead is attach it to this tool called Dripify. And Dripify is a LinkedIn automation tool where I can send people personalized LinkedIn messages at a routine basis. So once I have myself added to Dripify, I will automatically send an invite, view people's profile, like a post, and also message them. And you can do this at a pretty big scale. Technically, I'm sending hundreds of LinkedIn requests, hundreds of messages, and hundreds of emails that are synced every single day by doing nothing. And what is the result from this? Well, if I go to my calendar, the result from this is all these meetings from people that want to sponsor us. But this is where things get a bit complicated because, you know, the time and effort I now spend to outbound these people is nil. The cost of replication, it's practically zero. But does that mean that their perceived value of what I'm doing reduces? Because normally what happens when we go back to this graph here is that as the cost of replication goes up, so does the perceived value. And before, the cost of sending an email would have been a fair bit of time for me, hence the value being high. But now, thanks to automation, the cost is practically nothing. But does that mean the value also corresponds to nothing? Not necessarily, and this is where this type of automation is different. It's different because this time automation is no longer defined by efficiency or cost of replication. It's starting to blur the line between what's human and what's machine. AI can now write emails, it can compose music, it can even mimic human creativity so convincingly that sometimes we can't tell the difference. And in this new world, the question doesn't become what's the cost of replication and what's the perceived value. The question is what's human and what's automated. So let's stop forming questions and start coming up with answers. You see, I can separate automation into two boxes. Box one I'm calling front end, and the other I'm calling back end. You might not be aware of this, but you're familiar with the front end tasks. We've already built two of them. We had the email replies and we had the personalized outbounding. Back end tasks are slightly different. And let me illustrate this with the third automation flow I have to show you.
One aspect of running a newsletter that is not great is the reporting element. Your job is to get content in front of people. You need to, number one, figure out what content works the best, and number two, report back to people who are sponsoring you with the results. And the key here is to take a data-driven approach, but it takes a lot of time. So I'm trying to automate it right now. So this is the spreadsheet that we use to monitor all of our campaigns. And you can see here there's a lot of data entry that we personally need to put in ourselves, as well as some extra additions here to get a sense for how it's doing. And we get that information here from our ESP, so our sending provider, and that's Beehive. And what we can do is we can look at a specific email that we sent, and then we go into the performance and just get an idea for how well the overall email performed. And I haven't this automation fully built out yet, but what I am doing is using Crew.ai. Crew.ai is a tool that allows you to create AI agents. And these AI agents allow you to do pretty incredible things. The idea behind Crew AI is that you can develop these people that perform certain tasks, and they also talk to each other and work with each other. It does require a tiny bit of development, but they have this free course here online on deeplearning.ai that walks you through the entire thing, so anybody can set it up. Now, you might need to use your friend ChatGPT to get you through some of those prompts, but the plan here is that I have a series of agents that perform multiple tasks. The first agent's task is to take all of the stats from the newsletter and thereafter input it into this spreadsheet. The second agent's task is going to be to plug this into this dashboard where we can report to ourselves and to our sponsors for how well we're doing and tracking for the year. Now, before you pause on the video and look at all of these stats, these are all dummy numbers. And the third agent's job will be to look at all of the performance of all of these placements and figure out what placements work the best, what email subject lines should be used, what topics should we actually talk about, what leads to the highest open rate, the highest click rate, what ads perform the best. So instead of me doing all this data entry, qualitative and quantitative analysis, I can get a series of these Crew AI bots to do that for me. And this automation flow here is what I would call a back-end task. And this is where I think the key to the answer around good and bad automation lies. Because I don't think back-end tasks even come into this conversation. Who cares if these mundane tasks are being done by a computer? All it's doing is freeing up time. But it's the front-end customer-facing tasks where we hit this paradox. Because as AI gets better and better at achieving human performance at a low cost of replication, our graph no longer looks like this. It begins to flatline, but the value doesn't go on forever. Instead, in this case, if we're unable to detect a difference between human and machine, the perceived value stops. And for me, that's where the risk is. If in an online world we can't tell the difference between human and machine, those imperfections, those quirks, and the unmistakable mark of human effort becomes something that we're at risk of losing. So even though I'm able to do the work of 5 people with some automation flows, if everybody does it, it renders useless. And that's a race to the bottom. But there's a silver lining. My hair is after getting so long that you can actually hide a pen in my hair. I started using this app called Bonjoro. And the premise is very simple. It allows you to send emails to people via a video format. So instead of me sending an email saying, "Hey Joseph, how are you? I run this newsletter called Half Baked," it sends him an email with a GIF. And on that GIF, there's me, looking stupid. And when he clicks on that GIF, it opens a video with me saying, "Hey Joseph, how are you? My name is Darragh." And what I love about that is that can't be automated. Well, not well anyway. Go back and check the video where I clone myself to skip video calls.
What the hell?
But what this app does is it allows me to just get to the point where I really just start creating something a bit human. Something that Joseph, somebody that I'm now going to send a message to, knows that I'm sending that message to him and only him. Hey Joseph, my name is Darragh and I hope you don't mind me reaching out. I run a newsletter called Half Baked and we're the fastest growing. You see, automation when used thoughtfully can actually free us up from the repetitive low value tasks and give us time and space to focus on the work that requires that human touch. AI can take care of these routine back-end tasks, but it's up to us still to create, connect and solve problems in a way that machines can't. The more we offload the mundane, the more opportunities we have to engage in meaningful and deeply, frankly, human work. Work that reflects more creativity, empathy, and originality. And send. Right, okay, only 7 more Bonjoros to go. Hi Seppi, my name is Darragh, and so this is one of my favorite times of the entire week. It's where I do one-to-one calls with their subscribers, just to get feedback on the newsletter, how they like it, what we can improve, etc. We have a really busy one today, so we have lots of calls to go through. This is something we could automate, but having done both, like a form that people submit versus having a call, but I cannot quantify how much more valuable it is to talk to your subscribers in a qualitative way. You get so much more insight. So I am late for the first call, so I might just leave the camera here and do a little montage. It's a bit ironic. First call was a no-show. Ben, how are things? You're all good. A lot of time people don't even show up to these calls, so I'm extremely happy to see you. I'm literally making a video at the moment saying don't automate everything. So that you've literally caught me in the act there, which is really, really funny. So whether you're selling software or a service or your body, well, maybe not your body, the real opportunity isn't in automating everything, it's in using automation to amplify what makes us uniquely human. So I'm just after finishing this podcast of My First Million with Jesse Etzler, and on it he talks about, indirectly, the exact topic of how automation and the human touch isn't necessarily something that people are doing enough anymore. Are you right? Okay, cool. Let me go in somewhere where I'm not going to be interrupted. And Jesse is kind of taking advantage of this in his own way, where at the end of every year, he said he makes a list of people that has made some bit of an impact on him in the last year, and he writes them a handwritten letter. And that handwritten letter is the antithesis to that second automation flow that I told you about earlier. And apart from the stuff that you are communicating in the letter itself, what it also communicates is that you're taking the time and effort to sit down and write on physical paper, put it in an envelope, and pay for a stamp to post it to their address. And when I think about this in the context of automation, if you're able to leverage it to help you level up your business to the point at which you have more free time, what's really going to make us stand out is our care, effort, and authenticity that we communicate in ways that machines can't.